So let's just start in a comfortable position, and you can choose either child's pose or on your back in Supta Baddha Konasana, and we'll just start to settle into the body. Just get nice and comfy. And nothing to do for now. We'll just settle into the breath and maybe just notice the breath for now. Notice the quality of your breath. Maybe consciously allowing your belly to soften so that you can start to take some deeper breaths. And then just bringing awareness to the rest of your body. So maybe doing a little body scan. Excuse me. Notice if there are any areas of extra tension or any areas that might need a little extra stretch tonight. And then allow yourself to start taking some deeper breaths. Maybe even slowing the breath down a little bit. Just taking nice, full, slow, deep breaths. Again, keeping the belly soft and relaxed in order to do that. And we'll also start to elongate the exhalations so that they're a little bit longer than the inhalations, which will activate our parasympathetic nervous system and help us come into balance. Let go of the day and anything that might have occurred during the day. And again, we're sort of starting fresh now. You're on your mat and we're just here right now, and anything else outside of that is just that. It's outside of that. But if the mind starts to drift a little bit, that's okay. Just come back to your breath, because that's what the mind does. The mind does tend to drift no matter what. So we just come back to the breath. And then slowly and at your own pace, we will start to slowly come back up. And we'll start by sitting on the heels, but more specifically, we're going to sit on the toes. So you're going to bring your feet together, the big toes to touch, and spread the toes out wide. And then you're going to come to sit back on the toes. And if this is super intense, keep a block in front of you, because if you move the body forward slightly, you can take some of the pressure off, especially if you don't do this regularly or you're not used to it and it does feel a bit intense. And regardless of whether you're sitting straight up or whether you're leaning forward or on a block, we'll just once again bring awareness to the breath. And also notice any sensations in the feet, maybe even noticing if one side is different than the other. Just going to build more internal awareness. Again, full deep breaths. If you'd like to bring Ujjayi breath into your practice, you're invited to do so, but it's not a requirement. But Ujjayi breath is the breath that we do when we sound like we're fogging a mirror. So it's Darth Vader breath or ocean breath. It's basically just using the throat muscles to constrict the breath just a little bit. And bring your awareness to your spine, and whether you can get a little more length in it by lifting the crown of the head slightly. And then we'll come forward to get off of the toes, and then you can tap the toes to maybe get the blood back in there. We'll come to sit back on the heels, and then slide off the heels, and we'll just sit in an easy seat for now. You can sit on a blanket if you would like. That will elevate the hips slightly, and it will make a lot of things easier because it will help you to keep your pelvis from tilting backwards. It will keep your pelvis forward, and it'll help you to sit straight up on your sit bones. So you can keep the feet crossed in front, or you can do one heel in front of the other. Either way is up to you and whatever you're comfortable with. And we're just going to start with a little inhale with the arms coming up overhead. And then we'll interlace the fingers and turn them inside out and exhale. And then inhale again. And as you exhale, release. We'll just do one more, inhaling up. We're just going to get a little length in the spine. Interlace the fingers, turn them inside out as you exhale. Inhale again, and then exhale and release. And we'll bring the hands in front with tented fingers and just start to walk forward, keeping the hips on the mat. And only go as far as you can comfortably go, just until you start to feel that length in the spine. So creating some traction here. Nice full deep breaths. You can keep the chin tucked slightly. And if you feel the hips coming up off the mat, just press your fingers into the floor, and then you can press the hips back down. Pause here. Hopefully you can feel the spine lengthening and getting a nice stretch. And we'll slowly start to walk the hands back up. We'll just come to sit straight again, and we'll inhale the right arm up. For you, maybe the left. It depends if you want to mirror me or not. We're going to cross to the other side and just take a gentle twist, not a full twist, just a very easy twist. And take a few breaths here. And on your next exhalation, we're going to turn back to the front. And we'll inhale the other side. And cross to the opposite knee, and then turn and look over the shoulder and breathe. Nice, slow, full deep breaths. And then release. On your next exhale, we'll come back to the front. And we're going to get some nice side twists going. So we're going to go ahead and inhale the right arm up again, and take the opposite arm. You can stay on fingertips and just walk the hand over to the side. And then what you're going to do, when you can bring your palm flat, actually press the palm into the mat, and you're going to notice that your ribs are going to move out a little bit more. So you're going to get more length on this outside here. And then reach all the way over with that right arm. And we'll breathe. And if you want to bend the elbow, you can. If you want to come down a little further, you can play with that a little bit. Just see what happens. But you don't want to go past any kind of edge. You just want to go as far as you can till it feels good, like this is what you're needing. And then slowly turn the body, upper body, and look down. And then notice where you feel that. Usually it's in the back, around the shoulder blades. Bringing your awareness to your diaphragm. Notice the belly moving in and out as you breathe. And then we're going to turn back up to the side again and push up and over. And we'll inhale the other arm. And again, we'll crawl forward, or out to the side rather, with the opposite arm, and then press that hand into the mat to get more elongation on the outside of the body. We're just going to reach all the way over, and that right arm can be bent if you want it to be. Full deep breaths, and let the exhales bring you in a little deeper, just on their own. We don't have to force it or push it. If we just wait and we're patient and we use these longer holds, it's the breath that actually lets us into the pose. And then we're going to turn and look down. Keep reaching with that left arm. Notice where the sensations are now. Just notice how you feel, regardless of what's going on all around us. We can always pause and just notice how we feel. And then we're going to inhale back to that side stretch, and then exhale. And then we'll inhale back up and over. Awesome. And then we're going to cross the legs, come forward. We're going to come onto hands and knees. And if you need to pad up your knees, you can also move the blanket to make that a little bit easier for you. We're going to take a few cat-cows here. So make sure that your knees are hips width apart and that your hands are shoulders width apart. The wrists are under the shoulders, and you're trying to make right angles here as best you can. So we're going to inhale and drop the belly, lift the chest, lift the gaze. And then drop the chin as you exhale. Relax the head and neck, and round the back. And then going at your own pace and synchronizing your own breath with the movement, we're going to inhale into cow again. And then exhale into cat. And really press the arms into the mat, and you'll notice you get much more stretch behind the shoulder blades this way. We'll just go back and forth like this a few times. And you go at your own pace. Full deep breaths. Again, allowing the breath to guide you through the movement. We'll do 2 more rounds. And then we'll meet in a neutral spine. Then from here, we're going to take the right leg back, come onto the toes. Now you already got a nice toe stretch, so what we're going to do is just be on the ball of the foot, and then start to press the heel back so you can get into your calf and some of the hamstring. And we'll take a couple of breaths here. Your gaze can be just past the mat. And just feel that stretch, feel that sensation going all the way up the leg. The leg is fully engaged while you're pressing the heel back. And then we're going to take the right leg and swing it behind the right so that you're on the outer edge of the foot. And you're going to look over the left shoulder and breathe. Hopefully you can feel that along the right side of the body. And then release, bring that right leg back. And we'll take the left. And again, starting on the toes, and then the ball of the foot. And then pressing the heel back. And if it's too intense, if you have really tight calves for any reason, you can always press the heel back and then release and then press it back and then do that a few times. So for some people, they just find that a little more comfortable than just pressing the heel back and holding it. So maybe try both and just see which one feels better for you. And we can take it from there. And then we'll swing the left behind the right onto the outer edge and looking over the right shoulder. Nice full deep breaths. Keep the belly soft. And then release that leg. I'm just going to move my angle, make it a little bit easier. And then from here, we're going to take the right leg back and up. So check out your hips, maybe even out the hips, because sometimes the right hip might hike up a little bit. So make sure the hips are even. And you're reaching back with the right leg, and then you're going to reach forward with the left arm. We're going to hold this for a few breaths. And if you'd like, you can find a drishti point, so anything that you can focus your gaze on to not let the mind move. And if this feels good, just stay here and breathe. If you want to go maybe a little further, we have some stages here. You can bend the right leg. You can reach back, take the ankle or foot, but that's just an option. And then we'll take a few breaths. Release the right leg if you have it, and then keep reaching forward with the arm and back with the leg. And then go ahead and release. Full inhale and exhale. And then we'll take the left leg back. Reach forward with the right arm. Full deep breaths. Finding a drishti point or anything to set your gaze on. And if you want to bend the left knee, reach back, take the foot or ankle, you're invited to do that. Again, just optional. We'll just challenge our balance a little bit more. And then release the leg if you have it, but just continue to reach forward with the arm. We'll take a couple more breaths here before we release. And then go ahead and release. Bring your hand and your knee to the floor. And let's take the knees out a little bit wider. Let the toes touch. Come into an active child's pose. So you're going to come into child's pose. You're going to keep the arms out in front. You'll lower the forehead. But you're going to keep the elbows off the floor so you can create more traction. And then lift the head up off the floor just a couple inches so you can walk your arms over to the right. And then lower the forehead again and breathe. And then again, lift the forehead. We're going to walk the arms all the way over to the left this time and lower the forehead again. Take a few breaths. And press that right hip back so you can increase the stretch along the right side of the body. And then lift the head again, walk the arms back to center, and then we're going to come up and all the way forward onto our belly and have the elbows underneath the shoulders. We're going to come into Sphinx pose. You can take the feet a bit wider, and the whole body is active in this pose, so you want to allow the legs to become engaged by pressing the tops of the feet into the mat. And then you're going to notice that your thighs engage when you do that. And by creating a right angle here, you just want to double check your hands are wide and pressing down and forward. So it's almost like we're trying to pull the mat towards us so that our chest is going to be pulled through. And while you're doing that, I know this is a lot at the same time, then we're actually pressing the upper body up. So we're lifting the crown of the head. And now we're getting a really deep upper back bend. It's kind of a hard area to get to. The thoracic spine is not nearly as flexible as the cervical spine or the lumbar spine. Nice full deep breaths. And then slowly release and let the spine unravel back onto the mat. Reach back and take the right ankle or foot. The left hand can be right in front, and you can lower the forehead and rest it on the forearm if you'd like. Either way, we're going to bring that foot in towards the hip so we can get a little extra quad stretch. Take a few breaths. Okay. Then go ahead and release the right leg. We're going to come to the other side. So we've got the right arm in front. We're going to reach back, take the left foot or ankle. And again, you can rest the forehead if you'd like. Otherwise, we'll just pull that foot in towards the hip. Nice full deep breaths. And then release the left leg. And then from here, we're going to bring the hands underneath the heads of the shoulders. We're going to inhale and just lift up. And actually, you can take the hands back even further. And see if you can squeeze the shoulder blades together. The gaze is past the mat. Full deep breaths here. And if you want, you can take the hands up off the mat. Now you're just using your back muscles. And then go ahead and release. Bring the forehead to the mat. Then we'll inhale up again. Bring the upper body up off the mat, and the hands can come off the mat. And again, we're trying to open up the chest here. And then slowly release. And then we'll take our hands behind our back, clasp the hands as best you can. If you can't clasp the hands, you can keep your arms just straight back as if you're about to fly. But if you can't clasp the hands, go ahead and do that. Then we're going to lift the upper body off the mat again and straighten the arms. So now we're lifting the arms up and back, opening up the chest muscles, and the gaze is forward. And if it's okay and comfortable, you can also take the legs up. And then start to release and let the hands come to the lower back before releasing your grip. And then you can turn your head to one side and take a rest. I'm going to turn my fan on. It's already getting warm in here. There we go. Come back to center. This time bend both knees, reach back, take both the ankles or feet or whatever you can reach. We're going to come into full bow pose. So whenever you're ready, well, first of all, you can stay here if you like and just breathe. But if you want to take it up, you can inhale, take the legs up, the head and the chest, everything up. Focusing on the breath. Try not to let the knees splay out if possible, keeping them parallel. And then slowly release and see if you can get yourself to come down really, really slow. And then once you release the legs, you can turn your head to the other side and take a little break. Then from here, we're going to bring the hands to the mat. Just press into the mat. We're going to come back up into tabletop. And then we're going to inhale the left arm up towards the ceiling and exhale it underneath the right arm. We're going to come into a twist. So that right hand can just stay right here next to your face. Or you can actually walk the arm forward if you'd like. Could also try raising the arm up towards the ceiling. You can rest it on the lower back or even wrap it around the waist. And we'll just stay here and breathe and let gravity do the work. And then go ahead and bring the right hand back to the mat next to your face and press to come up and unwind from that twist. Full inhale and exhale. And then we're going to inhale the right arm up towards the ceiling and exhale the right underneath the left. Coming to rest on the other side. And you can do the same thing on the left side. You can either keep your hand next to your face or you can walk the arm forward, raise it up towards the ceiling, rest it on the low back, or wrap around the waist. We'll take some nice, slow, deep breaths here. Let the body just sink into the mat. And again, just letting the breath bring us to where we need to be. Then to come out, we'll bring the left hand back to the mat and just press into it to come up. And then we'll take the hands forward a little bit, curl the toes under, and we'll come into a downward facing dog. Take your time and settle into your downward facing dog. Maybe bend one knee and press the opposite heel down, and then switch sides. Just sort of feel your way into this. Make sure that the arms have this inward rotation, so it's like you're trying to bring your biceps towards your ears. Maybe even bend the knees before pressing the hips up and back, and press the mat away from you so you just get more length in the spine. So don't forget, you should be feeling this in the spine and not the back of the legs. And if you are feeling it in the back of the legs, bend the knees and keep them bent. And then we're going to take that right leg up behind us, bend the knee, and then open up the hip. Keep the front of the body square to the mat. And then turn the hips to be square again, and exhale and bring that right knee to the left elbow. And then as you inhale, bring the right leg back and up again. Take your time and go with your breath. Bend the knee, come to the right elbow. Inhale that leg back up behind you. And then once again, we're going to bend the knee, and this time we're going to bring that right foot to land next to the right hand. Lower the back leg, and again, if you have your blanket so that you can keep the knee padded up, that's great. And then we'll just press up into a low lunge. And we'll clasp the hands, press into the upper right thigh. And we don't want to flop into this, so just be mindful of your hips here, right? We want to keep the legs strong, both pressing into the mat in order to support the stretch so that we're feeling it in the front of the left hip in the psoas muscle. And the arms, we're using the leg as leverage so that we can lift the crown of the head and get more length in the spine. Then inhale the left arm up, but lift it up and then slightly back, and notice how that feels in the psoas again. Like I said, that's in the front of the left hip. You might feel that stretch moves up above the hip, and that's great because the psoas actually goes all the way up to the spine and attaches just under the ribs. And on your next exhale, cross the elbow over the right leg. We're going to be on the outside of the thigh, and we're going to bring the hands together in front of the heart. And just stay here and breathe. Or if you want to go a little further, you can curl the toes of the back foot under and straighten the leg. Full deep breaths. Beautiful. And then slowly lower the back leg if you did decide to straighten it. And then we're going to turn towards the front. We're going to get into the hips a little more. So we're going to take the right foot out at a 45-degree angle, and the foot can stay flat or on the outer edge. That is your choice. That's a personal preference. I like outer edge because I feel like I get a little deeper that way, but again, that's up to you. And we're going to keep the hands pressing into the mat, actually pressing the left hand into the mat, and then we're going to bring the right hand up to the upper thigh. We're going to turn and look over the right shoulder. Now you can stay here and breathe, or since we did do a quad stretch earlier, if you want, you can try bending the right knee and reaching back and taking the foot or ankle and see if that's available to you today. And if it is, see if you can open up the chest up towards the ceiling while you're doing that. Again, this is just an option, so feel free to skip it if it's too much. It's not a problem. Full deep breaths. And then release the foot if you did reach for it, and we're going to turn back to the front. We're going to come in a little deeper now. So you have a couple of options here. You can either maybe try coming down onto an elbow or two. And if that isn't going to happen, and you're like, yeah, no, that's not happening, maybe try bringing a block and maybe come onto the block. So go in increments, and you can also have the block at different heights. So please play around with this and find what works for you. And then we'll stay for a few more breaths here. So now we're getting a lot deeper into the hip, the inner hip, the outer hip, the groin. This is a very intense stretch, but it's also very effective for tight hips. I used to despise this particular shape, and now I love it because I did make progress, and I did get the benefit from it. And we're slowly going to come out by bringing the hands to the mat. Just press into the mat. We're going to bring the right leg in, and then we're going to take a half split. So pretend you're going to sit back on your heel again, and now that front leg will straighten. And you can either stay here, fold over the leg, and get a nice deep stretch for your hamstrings. You could also try raising the toes up towards the ceiling. Great. And then we slowly release by coming forward, and then just slide that leg back again and make your way back into downward facing dog. Maybe notice how one side might be feeling different than the other. And again, pressing the hips up and back, getting the nice long stretch in the spine. Keeping the belly soft. Go ahead and take the left leg back up. Bend the knee and open up the hip. Press the right heel down. On your next exhale, we're going to square the hips and bring the left knee to the right elbow. Then you'll inhale back up. Bend the knee and bring it to the left elbow. Now, of course, the slower you do this, a little more, you're making yourself work a little harder, so you can decide whether you want to do that or not. Now we're going to bend the knee again, and this time bring it all the way underneath. Land it next to the left hand. Lower the back leg, point the toes. Then we'll just come up into our low lunge again. Clasped hands, pressing into the upper left thigh. Lifting the crown of the head so we're getting some length in the spine. And we're pressing both legs into the mat at the same time. Nice full deep breaths here. And then go ahead and lift the right arm up towards the ceiling. And then reach up and back just a little bit. Don't have to go too far. You will feel the stretch. You'll feel that muscle immediately. On your next exhale, we're going to cross the left thigh. Again, bringing hands in front of the heart, and just take a twist here and breathe and stay right here if this is good for you. And if you would like, you can curl the toes under. This is optional. Curl the toes under of the right leg and simply straighten the leg, taking it up off the mat. Bring your awareness to the breath and let the breath keep you steady. That back leg is strong. Then go ahead and lower the back leg. And then turn the upper body back towards the front. And we're going to bring the hands to the inside of the left leg, and the left foot's going to come out to the side. Again, flat or outer edge, up to you. Right hand presses into the mat, and then the left hand comes to the upper left thigh, and we're going to take that twist and look over the left shoulder. And again, if it's available to you, if you want to try it on this side, you can maybe try bending the knee and grabbing the foot or ankle. You might notice one side's different than the other. And that's okay. You might, like, I barely grabbed this foot on this side, so I may not have been able to grab it at all, and that's fine too. Release the leg or the foot if you took it, and we're going to turn back to the front. And again, you'll choose how far you want to go. If you want, you can just stay here for a few more breaths, or you can come into this a little bit more deeply by either using the block or coming down to one elbow or even two. And if you're really flexible and you can just lay down with your belly on the mat here, of course, feel free to do that too. And the rest of us will stand in awe or lay here in awe. And then to come out, we'll very gently come back onto straight arms. Bring that foot back towards the center. Not to the center, but just lining it back up the way it should be. And then we're going to sit back like we're sitting on the heels so that we can get the left hamstring stretch. And again, that foot can be flat or the toes can raise up towards the ceiling, and we'll take a fold here. The knee can be bent, of course, to any degree. And then bend that knee, come forward a little bit so that we can slide the foot back, come back into a downward facing dog. Press both heels towards the mat. Press the mat away from you to get length in the spine. And then let's walk the hands back towards the feet. And we'll come into ragdoll. So keep the feet hips width apart, bend the knees, and let the upper body just hang down nice and loose. You can let the arms hang down here. You can maybe take opposite elbows. Maybe shake the head yes or no. See if you're able to allow the neck to be nice and loose here. And then maybe just play around by shifting the weight around your feet, maybe from one foot to the other or the front of the foot to the back of the foot. And notice how the upper body wants to just sort of swing around and float around like seaweed or jellyfish. Just play around with that and enjoy. Notice the length that comes into the spine. Notice how gravity can help the muscles get a little more stretch, a little more length, a little more releasing of the tension that we don't want to hold on to. Especially in the upper back and the shoulders, where I feel like most people hold a lot of tension in those areas. Make sure the knees are bent. And then to come up, we'll just bring our hands to the shins and just walk the hands up the legs. Just a nice sort of safe way to do that. Then we'll inhale the arms up overhead. Take the left wrist with the right hand and just lean over to the right. If you prefer your feet closer together, you can. I like to keep mine hips width apart. I just feel like it's a more natural stance and it gives me a little more stability. Then we'll go ahead and inhale back to center, and then we're going to switch sides. So take the left wrist and then exhale over to the left. Full deep breaths. And we're going to inhale back through center. Exhale, hands into namaste. And then into Tadasana or mountain pose. So for balance pose today, we haven't done this one in a while. We're going to do the figure 4. This one I know is a little bit tough, but if you're near the wall, just hang on to the wall for a little extra balance. So we're going to bring all the weight into the left foot and bring the right foot up, cross over, just like we do when we're on the floor and we're doing that hip stretch. And then we're going to bring the hands together in front of the heart and slowly start to sit back like we're sitting in a chair pose. And just see how far you can comfortably go. Your arms might come all the way to the shin, but they might not, and that's okay. And in this one, maybe for sure, find a drishti point. So find something you can focus your gaze on. And breathe fully and deeply. Now coming up is the hard part. Let's see if we can do it slowly. Of course, whenever I say that, I always end up falling. But I didn't this time, yay! And then we'll come back to standing, maybe even shake it out. Okay, and we'll switch sides. So we're gonna bring all the weight into the opposite leg and then bring the leg up, cross the thigh. So we're on the upper thigh with the ankle. Of course, now I'm super wobbly. Okay, and then we're gonna start to sit back and bring the hands in front of the heart and just very gently come to sit. And I'm sure you can probably feel this in your hips. It's pretty intense in the hip. And if you fall out, you can always just come back in and try again. Keep the left foot flexed, just to protect the joints. Full deep breaths. Staring at your drishti point. Sometimes when you can focus your mind on a visual object, it helps to keep the body steady as well. And then slowly, slowly, we're going to come back up to standing. Oh. See how you do. And we'll shake that out. Awesome. Let's take the legs wide. So a bit wider than your shoulders. And we're going to take the hands behind the back and clasp the hands. Keep the knees slightly bent. And then straighten the arms, lift the chest as you inhale, and then fold forward as you exhale. Nice, full, slow, deep breaths here. And then maybe think about pressing into the outer edges of the feet so that our feet aren't pronating or pressing on the inside. And then from here, bring the clasped hands to the lower back, release the hands and bring them down to the mat. Then bring the left hand to the floor right in front of your face and inhale and lift the right arm up towards the ceiling, but don't let the left hip move over too much. So press that left hip back out again if it did move in. We'll take a couple breaths here. On your next exhale, we'll come back down, switch places. So now the right hand's in front of your face. Then you're going to inhale the left arm up towards the ceiling. And make sure that that right hip didn't come in. So we're going to press that right hip back out again and stay centered that way. Full deep breaths. And on the next exhale, we're going to lower the left arm. Let's bring the feet in a little bit. Just kind of heel toe your feet in. And then we're going to take the right arm to the left ankle or shin. And we're just going to let the head hang forward into a forward fold. Now, if that feels pretty good, you can just stay here and breathe. But if you want to make this more of a twist, you're going to take the left hand and crawl the fingers forward. And then you're going to crawl the fingers over to the right. And you'll notice that your head, while it's hanging down nice and loose, it's going to end up underneath your left armpit. Now, this is a very intense twist, so please go slow and be, gingerly about it, Of course, if it feels good, go for it. But we don't want to hurt ourselves either. And then slowly we'll start to unwind. And we're going to switch sides. We're going to take the left hand to the outer ankle or shin of the right foot. By the way, knees can stay soft here. They can stay a little bit bent. And then just hang down in a forward fold. And that right hand can just stay where it is, maybe tented fingers if you'd like. Or you can walk the fingers forward and then over to the left. So we're getting a deeper twist again in the upper back. Nice full deep breaths. And then slowly we'll start to release and we'll come out of this little twist and unravel. And let's come up halfway with hands on the hips. And then on the next inhale, we'll come up all the way. And we're going to take the feet out this time at we're going to take them a little wider and then take them out at about a 45-degree angle. And we're going to come into a high squat. Hands are going to be on the upper thighs. And then from here, we're just going to push the hands into the thighs so that we can elongate the spine. So lift the crown of the head. Full deep breaths. You're using your legs as leverage here, right? And then from here, we're going to inhale. And then we're going to dip the left shoulder and look over the right as you exhale. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, dip the right shoulder, look over the left. Inhale back to center. Exhale, dip the left shoulder again. I'm just going to do one more round on both sides. Inhale back to center. Using those arms to press that right shoulder down and looking over the left. And then inhaling back to center. And we're going to take the arms out into, I believe this is cactus. So now we're in full goddess pose. And then actually we'll bring our hands together and start to come down into a squat. You might have to adjust as you go, so feel free to do that. I always tend to sort of swing back and forth until I'm there. And the elbows are going to be on the inner thighs, and we're going to press those thighs apart by pressing the hands together, and then also lifting the crown of the head, because we don't want to get squished down here, right? We want length in the spine. Take a few breaths. And then very gently, we're going to come down to sitting. So however you do that is up to you. There's really no graceful way to do it. And there doesn't need to be. We don't need to be graceful. So we'll take the legs out in front. Make sure you're sitting on your sit bones, and you can move the flesh away if you need to. So you can feel your bones in the mat. Then we'll inhale the arms up and really reach up and get length again. The legs should be fully engaged, so that means your toes are pointing up to the ceiling. And then we're going to fold forward in our forward bend. Now the knees can be bent a little bit here, so feel free to bring them up off the mat. And you could even roll up a blanket and stick it underneath your knees if you want to. This just makes everything better for your low back. And then just fold and breathe. And then slowly we're going to start to come up, and if you want, you can bring your hands to the outside of the legs and just walk your hands back up. Move the blanket if you did take it, and we're going to cross the right leg over the left. Bring that knee in, flex the left foot, and press the other foot into the mat. And then we're going to take the opposite arm and hug the knee into the chest and come into a twist, looking over the right shoulder. And then the hand is behind me, pressing into the floor to help me keep my spine supported. And to make sure your spine is straight, at this point you're going to lift the chest as you inhale and then twist as you exhale. Again, making sure that both feet are flexed. And on your next exhale, we're going to turn back towards the front. We'll switch sides. So we're going to cross the left over the right, flex the right foot, bring that knee in towards the chest, press the opposite foot into the mat, hug the knee with the opposite arm, and twist and look over the shoulder. And then inhale and lift the chest, and exhale and twist a little deeper. And then on your next exhale, we're going to turn back to the front and release. And I lost track of time. So we're going to come into Shavasana. So go ahead and come onto your back. Kept thinking, I always think I have more time. I guess that's my jam. I should accept it. Let's hug the knees into the chest, and you can give yourself a little rock, a little back to side to side. That always feels good. And then bring the feet to the mat, and then walk the feet forward a little bit and widen the feet so that they're almost as wide as the mat. Then you're going to windshield wiper the knees. So you're just going to move the knees side to side like windshield wipers and see how that feels on your back. I personally love this and do it all the time. And then when you're ready, we'll take the legs out and we'll come to lay into Shavasana. And if you want to grab a blanket or a pillow or whatever you need to make this comfortable for yourself, feel free. And you're going to take the legs out a little wider, let the toes fall away from each other. Take your arms out by your sides. Your palms should be facing up towards the ceiling. But if you would like an alternative, you can always place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your sternum or your belly. That's up to you. Eyes can be closed or just softly closed. And just start to let go. Let the legs feel heavy and feel Feel the mat underneath your body just fully supporting you. Let yourself basically go limp and just kind of melt into the mat. Notice the sacrum. Notice that lumbar spine, the lumbar curve of your spine, and all the points of contact that your body makes with the mat. And just soften. Soften the belly. Soften the muscles of the chest, the area around the heart. And release the neck and the jaw. And release the tongue if it's stuck to the roof of the mouth. And relax the muscles of the face, of the scalp, of the cheeks, around the eyes, between the eyes. And slowly we'll start to bring awareness back to the room, back into your body. And start by taking a full deep breath. Maybe wiggle fingers and toes. maybe even taking the arms up overhead, giving yourself a full body stretch as if you just woke up, which you kind of did. And then we'll bend the knees and bring the feet to the mat before rolling over to one side. And if you'd like, you can take your time, linger on your side for a moment. Eventually and slowly making your way back up to sitting. And we'll close our practice with hands in front of the heart. Thank you for coming to practice with me tonight. It's always nice to see your faces. May we all be happy, and may we all be peaceful, and may we all be free from suffering. Namaste.